And I should have asked, I would just want to make sure we don't have any school board officials that I have missed. Sometimes I do that, miss. I think so. Okay. All right, Janelle.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the close as we're closing the school year, the 2023-2024 school year. I just want to remind everyone that our Maryland State Department of Education Parent Involvement Survey is still live through May 24th. So all of our families and parents that are represented, if you have not had an opportunity, we encourage you to complete the parent survey and fill it out today. We use these results to really drive in working with our SECAC board in terms of what offerings, what areas of improvement. Our Family Support Center also uses that to leverage professional learning opportunities with our staff and school-based team members. So again, if you are a parent and you have not had an opportunity, we encourage you to please complete the survey. And Marcy has placed the direct link in the chat. The other thing I just wanted to celebrate is it's graduation season in Prince George's County Public Schools. So if you have a graduate that is exiting our school district, I wish you the best of luck and congratulatory remarks for you. And then if you also have a student that is going from either early childhood to elementary to middle school, and middle school to high school, I also congratulate and celebrate you. The last update I just look forward to is working collaboratively with our parent and families as we embark upon the summer planning for SECAC and into next school year. So everyone have a wonderful, safe holiday for Memorial Day, as well as a safe summer. And I hope you are doing something fun with your family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle. Really appreciate it. And appreciate this school year. It's hard to believe it's graduation time, it's summertime, it's like here. And want to thank you and the team for all your support and all that you have done and continue to do for our children. I now have the pleasure, and Jen, right? I want to make sure Gagler. Am I pronouncing?
That is right. Yes.
Okay. Yay. All right.
It's not an easy one.
So it's my pleasure to introduce everyone to Jen, our moderator, and a little bit about her. She is a public relations professional with more than 25 years creating community outreach programs and being responsible for branding and helping companies tell their stories through social media platforms and in the media. She founded Jennifer Gagler Communications to help neurodivergent families find the local resources their children need to thrive. In addition to her participation in SECAC, and by the way, she will be our new treasurer moving forward. Jennifer is the mother of an amazing 11-year-old son and has held leadership positions in the Montgomery County Public Schools PTA, Maryland PTA, and Montgomery County Community Hearing Board. So without further ado, Jen, I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie. And I'm excited to have a leadership role upcoming in SECAC. So I'm really excited to work with everyone. Tonight, we are lucky. We're going to be speaking about the importance of disability employment. The advantages that people with disabilities bring to their employers are so many and so varied, from having a more positive and supportive work environment to creating happier employees. Tonight, we're lucky to be joined by three incredible local professionals helping all of our students thrive and succeed in employment opportunities. Tonight, we will be hearing and speaking with Melissa Scales-Hamilton, employment consultant for the Autism Society Maryland, William Brownlee, business services representative and staffing specialist from the Maryland State Department of Education, and Jody Tick, the executive director of Sunflower Bakery. because I will never be able to do justice to the amazing work that you do in our communities. Could you three just give a brief bio, and then we'll start with the panelist questions. Melissa, did you want to begin?
Sure. I am Melissa Scales Hamilton, and yes, I do like my scales in the middle because balancing all that we do can be a unique skill all in itself. I am a parent. I am coming tonight from the perspective of a parent, an educator, an employer, an advocate, and an employment specialist. I started a company called I Am Special Consulting so that I can help parents that need support and supporting their loved ones through all of the resources that are out there. One thing we don't do is some of us don't know. And when you don't know, it's hard to support. So that is why I created the company, and I love sharing this platform with two other amazing beings, Mr. Brownlee and Ms. Jody. So thank you very much for your invitation, and I look forward to engaging with many of you in the future.
Thank you, Melissa.
So
Jody, would you like to give us
Sure.
just some
Thank you.
information?
Yeah, Jen, thank you for inviting me. It's nice to be with everyone this evening. And like Melissa, I too am a parent of a child with a developmental disability, but I have the privilege of leading Sunflower Bakery. We are a workforce development training organization for young adults with learning differences, and we train folks in pastry arts, hospitality, and I'm pleased to say we've just launched a culinary program. And we don't keep students in perpetuity. We train them and then we help them find jobs in the community because, as everyone on this call knows, not only are there not enough programs for young adults with disabilities, but there's not enough employment options. And so we want to close that employment gap to help folks find sustainable employment. So I look forward to the conversation this evening.
And William, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is William Brownlee, as you can see. Although I'm very, very proud to represent Maryland State Department of Education, I do need to specify that I work for a division, which is called DOORS, Division of Rehabilitation Services. As a business service rep, I promote and market the employment of individuals with disabilities by doing outreach to the community, business-related activities. I'm a member of SHRM, Chamber of Commerce, and many different organizations. Our primary goal is to migrate the individual who has disabilities into the competitive job market, so to speak. My team, which is a team of 8 for the entire state, we operate under the dual customer approach. We service the business, providing them education, guidance, and awareness, as well as groom the job seeker so they can be competitive in the workforce.
Thank you, William. You know, I know that this is such an incredible topic with so many different questions in different aspects to it. So since we only have a very limited time to speak with each other tonight, we're just going to jump right in. William, what do you feel are some of the known barriers for our teenagers and our young adult job seekers with disabilities?
From my 8 years experience of being in my organization, the key barriers that we actually encounter is, one, owning your disability, acknowledging that you have a disability and understanding what it is and what are the workarounds. When it comes to the job seekers, it's the lack of education, the lack of skills that the employers are looking for, because I hear a lot of job seekers throughout the section of the ADA, but the ADA only protects those who meet the minimum qualifications. The next biggest barrier will be transportation. Limited transportation, especially in the rural areas of the state, where you don't have the transit. You're not within the transit circle, so to speak. There's a need for special features at the job that some employers are not aware of. So that's one of my biggest things, understanding the workplace accommodations and educating the employers on that. I'll say, like, fifth will probably be the attitudinal barriers of the employers and the co-workers, the negative perceptions, the preconceived ideas of a lot of employers. When they think about disability, they always think of the extreme, but yet the disability community is a very, very diverse group. So I always have to, remind them that, it's just a matter of time for you to acquire a disability, because it's proven fact that the body breaks down over time. So that kind of like brings it home. This is number 2 on my list. I should be number 2, is all of the individuals who are, we try to market them for employment, they have fear of losing their benefits. They don't receive the proper benefits counseling. They want to work, but then again, they don't want to work full time because they work so hard to get their benefits. And they're so fearful that once I start working, I'm going to lose it. Now I got to fight that uphill battle again. And then the last barrier is the lack of job counseling and job guidance. Understanding what help the job seeker understand what is their knowledge, skills, and abilities. And even if you have to transition into a different occupation due to your disability, being able to be counseled so you can concentrate on the skills, knowledge, skills, and abilities that you do possess that can be transferred over into a new industry or new occupation.
Those are some great aspects, William, and I know a lot of parents have a number of questions on the front of what barriers their children may run into as they proceed with their job search. Jody, what have you found from Sunflower Bakery?
Yeah, thank you. I was going to jump into, I think William really was comprehensive in his answer. From our perspective, there's really 2 views, like what William was speaking about. We've worked with over 65 employer partners throughout the DMV since we started in 2009. And a lot of it is just, the stigma of hiring somebody with a disability and what that takes. And through our work, it's a lot of education, right? It's dispelling the myths. We recently did an employer survey and to find out what traits and behaviors our employer partners value most in employees. And the highest ones were work ethic, loyalty, and dependability. Our students have that in spades, right? So what our students bring to the table offers, and I'm talking about, entry-level positions. Our students just want to be part of something bigger than themselves, part of the community, productive and engaged citizens. And they're dependable, they're loyal, and they show up. And they're not looking for the next greatest thing. Granted, upper mobility is welcome, but it's educating the employers about what we do. And what we find is we align our training with industry standards, so they have the skills when they come out. Part of it from the student perspective, and I've seen this over time at Sunflower, is self-esteem and the self-confidence to believe that you can do the job, because our students can. They have to believe that they can do it. And what I like to say is, like, we have numbers and metrics, but the Sunflower experience is transformational. It's something you can't measure. A student that comes in is not the same person who leaves. We're getting ready for our graduation, and we're doing a video on all of our graduates. And the one common theme that I'm hearing from all of our students is how their self-esteem and self-confidence has grown as they've been with us. So it goes both sides, but there's a lot more work to do to work on the employer side for us.
And for those of you who aren't as familiar with Sunflower Bakery, every year for the graduation ceremony, they create such an emotional video of their students and their parents and the culinary experts that work with the students on what all that they have done this year and what they're looking to accomplish. So if you haven't had the chance, go to sunflowerbakery.org, and I will guarantee that you will have some happy tears by the end of the video every year. Melissa, I know that you work with a number of families. What do you feel are some of the, I guess, more known barriers for our folks looking for employment?
Thank you so much for bringing in that part. I think that the job candidates come into the workforce without having any past experience for their first job. And for me, here in my house is their first job. This is where the employment starts. They need to learn to take out that trash and follow instructions from me, you, and even in the classrooms. The community are the first jobs for them. So when they can build those skills of trust and hearing no. When you hear a no, you're going to try something different. But doing chores at home, grocery shopping, shopping in the community, engaging, being a part of building your employment skills. Because once you get into employment, that's your job description. Can you listen? Can you follow those instructions? And can you be okay with the word no? So sometimes those barriers they come to us. I just had one come and she says, I want to do money management. I want to be a cashier, but I don't know about money. So starting early at home is the best place what we can do for our children. That's the best thing we can do. And even if they're not ours, help someone else.
That's a great point, actually. And I know one of the things that we also wanted to make sure that we spoke about tonight was the role of parents.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa, do you have other thoughts on what other aspects that parents can help prepare their children for their future employment?
Yes, I do. What I believe is this: hire your child at the house. Make them do things. Create a job description of how to do the dishes, how to take that trash out. Can they follow those instructions? And if they can't, break it down a little bit more so that they can hear what's going on. Find out what your learning style is of your loved one. Some are virtual, just like we are. I'm a visual learner. Show me and then I can execute what is going on. These are the things that when they come to me at Autism Society, is that either I have to teach that because they have not had that experience at home, or we go out and shop. We go out into the community and let them hear conversations from employers. We have them mentored by other employers. Make a menu, cook. What is that? That's a job description. And that's how you're doing that. Because how many of you remember your first job? Did you like it? Did you? Come on. I know you're loving what you do now. But did you like your first job? You learned something from it. And that's what we're going to do. We got to learn to say no. Don't be afraid as a parent to say no. No's help grow us. Okay? Because if you go out and get a job, apply for something, they may not qualify. And we don't want them to be hurt out in the community without that understanding. Because employers are there for what? To employ them. Not to be us, but to employ them. So let them experience these at home, because managing money is big. How many of you let your child manage your bank account? Do you? No? How many of you will let them do your taxes? But they come to us like, get them a job, get them a job. But where are the skills? How do we market that?
That's an excellent aspect that as the mom of a younger child, we are always trying to work towards that goal, but in the heat of the moment, sometimes it's just easier. At least speaking for me, like I'll just do it. But you're right. Then in those moments, it might go quicker, but unfortunately, it's not being used as a teachable moment. Jody, what are you seeing? Oops, sorry.
I'd like to add to that, personally and professionally. Personally, my son is 15, so we're definitely in the pre-employment stages. We work with our school to extend what he's doing there in the work-based learning at home, which goes to what Melissa said, so that it's not just isolated in one environment, but that it is understood across environments. And there's definitely ways to do that. But what we found is there's just not enough pre-employment options in terms of training and just exposure. So how do you know what you want to do if you haven't been exposed to a variety of different things? And I think that that's been a challenge in our community, and that's been, I'm a district president, that's definitely a challenge in DC. And so we do have a teen exposure program at Sunflower. It focuses on pastry arts. It's just a 4-session program. You get kind of a view in the day of the life of a pastry arts professional, and you get some soft skills training. So when we train folks, we couple the hard skills with soft skills about how to be an employee, communication, self-advocacy, appropriate work behaviors, appropriate relationships at work. And that's really important. I mean, that's important for anyone, right? But especially important for our students. And so, you know, that's kind of what we've seen. And the soft skills are critical. What we've experienced is that our students gain the hard skills pretty easily. It's the soft skills that can make or break the employment piece later on.
William, what are you seeing from the doors perspective?
I would love to see more participation from the parents, from the students and individuals with disabilities, as well as those who do not. Somewhere in our culture, we have dropped the ball in preparing our kids to go out into the world. The skills that we used to taught and develop at home, they seem to go by the wayside of, and I hate to sound like the old fogey parent, by the electronics and the devices. I see a lot of times where there was not enough emphasis on maintaining personal appearance, communicating clearly, showing personal responsibility, following directions and instructions, and maintaining a positive attitude. So that all the stuff, I can directly connect that from home. And that's where it starts at. But for parents, to give parents strength, I implore every parent to understand what the ADA is, how beautiful a law it is, especially Title I, which is the employment piece that outlines what an employer can do, what they can't do, what are your rights. Everything about the employment process is detailed. The reasonable accommodations, how to request it, when you can request it, when it can be denied. That is a key piece. That's, when we need to look at, pre-employment, during the actual job search, practice interviewing skills, understanding how to focus on your child's abilities and not their disability, bring that forward. Networking. Most of the best jobs out there are not advertised. Okay, but most importantly, you have a whole state agency that's been in existence for almost 100 years, doors plugged, by the way, that we advocate for that piece. We have counselors, we have job coaches, we have a multitude. If you don't know what to do with your child when it comes to employment, that's what we're here for. And lastly, the skills. A lot of times we'll be given a young individual that is a job seeker, and Melissa commented on this earlier. This individual does not have anything we can market to the employer. There's nothing we can show the employer this person is qualified to go into this role. So that's a key piece. It starts at home, building up the basics of how we're supposed to cooperate and how we're supposed to interact with each other, not only at home, not only at the corner store, but all that stuff transcends over into the workplace.
Hey, Jen, I'd like
go
to add
ahead.
one more thing on that. It's a personal kind of challenge that I've had is also letting my son try things on his own, and not always having to be there for every step. I've always been kind of making sure that everything is happening the way it should be, but letting him take risks and take chances. And it's okay for him to fail, because that's how he's going to learn. Everything from navigating his way down a city street and learning to cross the street safely, to interactions with people that I don't need to be there to communicate for him. He can do that on his own. And I'm learning slowly to do that. It's hard.
The hardest role of a parent is watching your child fail, but knowing that it's a necessary component to have that growth, and to have that kind of grit and determination to continue to try. Along that same line, are there any high school or employment programs in our area that families may not be as aware of? Melissa, are there any pre-employment programs that you've heard from from other families?
Melissa, here is your reminder.
Okay. Jody, can you go into a little bit more detail about our teen exposure program
Sure.
or Sunflower's teen exposure?
You know, and I will say that's been our experience now is that there just needs to be more pre-employment programs. There's just not enough for the demand. What we do at Sunflower is it's really experiential. All of our training, our workforce development training is experiential. Students will come in. First of all, they have an application and then there's an interview. Because there's some physicality to our program. They're standing for several hours, but students will learn the basics of baking. They'll actually bake with a trained pastry chef instructor. It's small classes. It's 4 students to an instructor chef and a few volunteers and another staff person, and go over everything from equipment to kitchen safety to the basics of baking. And every session there is like a little pullout where we will talk about soft skills of employment readiness and why it's so important and why it's important to think about that now, but just the importance of allowing people to be exposed to different options, because it helps them not only choose what they want to do, but what they don't want to do, right? Some of our students come in and it's a wonderful experience, but they know they don't want to be a pastry chef, right? So we're also thinking about ultimately creating another program for hospitality because they're very different. Pastry is very back of the house, individualized. Hospitality is very customer service oriented. So 2 different types of interests there. So that's a little bit about what we do. All of our sessions are listed on our website. We will be hosting some in the summer and some on afternoons. But overall, like we're one program. There are lots of others, but there's not enough. And students really get a feel for what it is to be, you know, in pastry, just even for those 4 sessions, because they're actually doing it.
Sorry, Jen.
That's actually a really good segue to highlight some of the successes and what you're hearing from the students after they found those first jobs and from their families. William, do you have any success stories that the families have shared with you after working with you?
Yes. Oddly enough, we just had our National Rehabilitation Conference up in Baltimore, and in conjunction with Department of Family Services, who has an apprenticeship program, we had one of our consumers who was honored by the sheriff's office to which he works. He was brought on through this internship program, which is normally 9 months. He was brought on as a full-time employee, a full-time county employee working for the sheriff's office.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we have a few individuals that were picked up by the Department of Social Services. So there are, entities out there that are eager to hire, young job seekers with disabilities. The biggest piece is helping them understand what it is and what hiring somebody with a disability entails. In most cases, the accommodations are free. That's the biggest thing. There's no special insurance that you need. I'm just going down the list of some of the things I have to reinsure them. There's nothing really to it. there are some situations to where you need, you know, certain accommodations, such as someone who's blind or someone who's deaf. Yes, you may need a sign language interpreter, or you may need something of that nature. But for the most part, it's just having them understand that the accommodation is something that this individual needs to actually carry out the function. I mean, at the end of the day, they still will have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, but they just may need a type of device to help them carry it out. I have another young lady who's completely blind. She's working in a doctor's office, and she's a receptionist. She's answering phone calls. She's transferring phone calls. She's writing up correspondences, and that's done with a piece of software called JAWS.
Would help if I unmuted myself so you didn't all hear the dog barking. Melissa, do you have stories that you've heard from the families you've worked with?
Absolutely. Mr. Brownlee and I were part of a program where we did support at least 13 candidates for a job, where 11 of them were placed in government agencies. I contribute this success to reaching out to the employers to let them know we are here to support you just as much as we are for the job candidates. They went through an extensive program, which is person-centered thinking training, so that they can develop a person-centered summary. So that when we add that to the employer got more information than a resume would allow. So that's where the successes came in.
Okay.
What was important to and what was important for. So to hear at the graduation, the parents coming up and saying, we could not have done this without you pairing us with someone who listens to my child, who appreciates what they have to bring to the table, because they're not looking for anything you handing them. They are there to earn everything. So we're taught them how to wait, how to go through the program, because our paychecks do not come every day. Sometimes they're once a month, they're every 2 weeks. So teaching someone how to wait and go through something that they know are going to be valuable. But the employers believe in the work that we do, and they come back and ask for more candidates that we can place in the government agencies. So that success is going to be long-term. And as you can see, the young man was just honored for, I think this is going into his 2nd year of employment at the Sheriff's Department.
Before we talk about those companies that are hiring, Jody, would you like to highlight any of the success stories that you've heard from students coming back
Yeah.
to tell you about their jobs?
Absolutely. So our methodology is focuses on a couple of things. We develop relationships with our employer partners. We have them come see what we do at Sunflower Bakery. We go and see their establishment. We don't just place people. What I like to say is our secret sauce, if you will, is almost job matching. So our employment training programs are 6 months, 26 weeks. And during that time, we get to know our students deeply and well. So we know what their strengths are, we know what their interests are, and then having those relationships with employers and understanding their requirements and what they're looking for, we can kind of match. And that's been successful for us. But to what Melissa said too, you know, the role we play is as beneficial to the employer as it is to our graduates. We recently added job services, which essentially helps transition everything from like resume writing and interviewing to looking for jobs to actual job coaching with Fated Supports. We don't do supported employment. But what we found is it's that transition to a new job. New jobs are hard for anybody to start, right? It's that transition from Sunflower to this new employment where we create those communication channels. We, you know, to what William said, we may put together, you know, accommodations, and it could be as basic as a checklist. We're basically helping them apply the skills that they've learned in a new setting. And we do everything from scratch. So our students are so well trained, they know all the basics and everything more. And so when they go into an environment where it's just a par bake, you pop it in the oven, like they're set. So we've developed and will continue to develop partnerships. So we have students at Tate. We're actually honoring Harris Teeter at our graduation. They've recently hired 3 of our students. And part of this is changing the narrative in these businesses. You're not just hiring a person with a disability. We're looking for you to shift your culture, because we've had the same experience of having a champion in a business, and then we place a student, but that champion's not the manager, and there's not been a sufficient orientation of who is coming into that workforce, and it doesn't work out well. So it's more than just placing people. This is a shift in how we think about, a more inclusive workforce. And that's ultimately what we are doing and what we try to do. We have some organizations like SECAC, they call us up and they're like, I'm ready for more people. We have others who come, like the Pretzel Bakery. They'll come and they'll actually interview at Sunflower. That said, like, there's some great employer partners that we have. There's still a lot of work to do, as I mentioned before, in terms of breaking the stigma and helping people understand the true value. There's economic benefits. There's research that's been done on this in terms of the economic benefits of hiring people with learning differences, neurodiverse individuals. And so part of this is how do we reach these employers so that they can understand and experience. And one thing that we want to do in the future is create kind of employer network or peer-to-peer, because nothing speaks more than an employer talking to another employer who's worked with us and their experience. We can talk to them as much as we want, but having that firsthand experience of employing one of the Sunflower graduates is one of the best ways to make that way forward.
What are some of the companies that you send students to or that you have worked with and are particularly great when it comes to disability employment opportunities?
Yeah, well, SECAC, they only hire people with learning disabilities. Harris Teeter, we have folks at Wegmans. So like I mentioned, Tate, which they're growing and expanding all over the place. So you have major chain institutions, but there's a lot of mom and pops that we've worked with too, right? And you can't dismiss those. And frankly, some of those have been our first employer partners because they've been more open. They're more flexible as an institution because they're smaller. Taste of Montreal. We have folks at Coffee Republic. We actually have our first student placed at a Starbucks in a grocery store, which is huge because Starbucks has time requirements that, I apologize. I'm actually Starbucks now is caught in traffic, but time requirements in terms of producing various coffee drinks. And that's hard for some of our students with anxiety, right? So there's a lot of pressure there. So it runs the gamut, clearly when you work with an institution, there's benefits there, right? More reliable hours, potential benefits, those types of things. We have a graduate who keeps emailing us. He's at Wegmans in DC, and every time he emails us, he's like, I'm getting another raise, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. So there's a lot of wonderful success stories. And I think, we need to celebrate those as much as we need to kind of crack this glass ceiling for the rest.
Melissa, are there local companies or organizations or even government associations that you have found have been particularly great working with our disabled students?
I have, and in my experience, the companies that hire people with differences are those that are in our network and those that are in our relationship map. And that is where it helps with the parents saying, I work at NIH, I work at National Geographic, I work at Discovery. We are looking for someone either in the mailroom, data entry, and for them to share those companies with us so that we can go in and make those connections. And if the employer knows that we are there to support them, because I do something called a needs and benefits analysis. How would this person benefit you by being in your company? And then we also do something called discovery, where we discover the skills of the job candidate. So we do matching so that you know that you're getting a viable candidate, as well as the employer knowing that I am not going to leave once you hire this person. So I will give me a company. I'll just go to them, large or small. Mom and pop is one of the great ones that we can get into, like a bookstore. Find out what the interest is of the child, of the person, not the child, not my child, but of the person. And I also found that I would recommend that you allow the job candidates a chance to gain skills in their communication right there inside of our grocery store, dry cleaners. Let them learn how to communicate with each other. And that way, this will give us an opportunity to say that they have these skills.
That's a great way of looking at it, not only from an opportunity for the employers to have great employees and our students because they are so well trained, but then also being mindful that the students themselves, there's a lot of background work that needs to be done. Like you said, finding out what your interests are,
Yeah.
practicing the communication skills, which are important in no matter what occupation or job that you move forward with.
Yeah. Can I add
So a
something?
lot of work.
Let me add this. In communication, we all communicate, whether it's with our face. I raise my eyebrows all the time, and sometimes my eyes will go up into my file cabinets trying to figure out what's going on. So sometimes our language can be a barrier if the employer or the employee does not know, what are you talking about? What do you mean? What is he saying to me? So I do a communication chart to kind of identify, how am I communicating through my face, my body, and sometimes my language? And what do you need to know to support me to be a better employee or a better person in general? So sometimes that communication can be challenging, but once you know and identify it for yourself, then it can take you a long way.
That's great. Thank you, Melissa.
Welcome.
And William, I want to make sure that you also have the opportunity to talk about, the success stories and the opportunities that you've seen with the families and the young adults that you've worked with.
Yes. Some of the my closest partners, Pepsi Cola Company, CVS Health, AT&T, United Health Group, of course, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, and Target. They are big advocates, especially for those individuals who may not have, a certain set of skills, but they have been always open and welcoming, as well as being supportive. I like to give a personal shout out to Home Depot and Lowe's. They have a very comprehensive um, um, accommodations and disability HR team, as well as the federal government. The federal government does too, especially when it comes to the selective placement coordinator and them being well versed and educated. But for the federal government, it goes back to knowledge, skills, and abilities.
Kind of hooking on to that, what do our panelists feel like the workforce will look like in the future for our neurodiverse young adults? Do you see a trend happening within organizations regarding their hiring processes?
I can comment on that. The world is changing. We're becoming more inclusive and more diverse. More people are feeling comfortable disclosing whether, and I'm just going at a broad spectrum, disclosing, their disability, because the person sitting across from them now has a disability. It's the attitude of barrier or the negative stigma that is attached to someone with a disability. Now the employers are starting to acknowledge this. They're opening up their doors and opening up their minds, because it is the largest minority group in the world today. So we can all attest that we may not know someone directly, or maybe we do know somebody directly or indirectly, but we know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who either has a disability or a child with a disability. But at the end of the day, as our body grows older, it breaks down, and we may find ourselves, in this particular demographic.
I'm
So that
happy
the
to,
future,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm
Sorry.
so the future for the job seekers who have disabilities is becoming more inclusive, because it's slowly transitioning over to, it's normal for you to have a disability. If you don't have a disability, you're considered to be abnormal now.
The beauty of neurodiversity.
And I'm happy to speak to that too. I think technology has a role to play, right, in the future, which can facilitate access for people with disabilities to be included in the workforce more. But it might be also a double-edged sword too, just because this automation takes hold. What does that mean for potential jobs that, someone with a disability may have had, or just anyone, right? So, our donut shop, we used to walk in and get waited on. Now we go up to a kiosk and order ourselves, which is great because my son can do it. That child can swipe a credit card like nobody else. But there's pictures and he knows what donut he wants. But there's no interaction on the hospitality side, right? That job is gone. It's an efficiency measure. And it makes me wonder, right? So my son can access this now, but could he have had that job? So I think we need to be thinking about that too. And also, it's a great question. What do the jobs of the future look like? The whole reason why we started our culinary pilot is because the growth that we're seeing and is projected in ready-to-eat grab-and-go foods is enormous. Every grocery store is making them. There's a bazillion fast casuals now. Students can slot into those. And this all came out of a conversation of we sell soup, salad, sandwiches, and wraps at our cafe. We have 2 retail outlets. And we buy them and we sell them because we're in an office building, and the office workers were saying, we love your sweets, we love your coffee, but we need lunch. And if we want to get lunch and we don't have it, we have to drive. So we provided that. We're like, our students can do that, right? Let's try that skill. But I know that, my son is like working in horticulture and there's utility jobs, but what will the jobs of the future look like? We want to make sure that we're training folks for those jobs of the future, not necessarily just thinking about what is currently available. So it's a great question.
I know that there's so many amazing subtopics to delve into with the disability employment. But I know that we also are going to be having, I know our audience is going to have some questions for our experts. So just one final question for our panelists, and it's, what one piece of advice do you have for families to help their child, or I'm sorry, to help their teen and young adults get ready to enter the workforce? Is there kind of a one or two tips that are your favorites to give to families?
I would say start early and explore lots of different options. And they don't necessarily have to be in the pre-employment space, right? Our son, and this was one of those things that was hard for me as a parent, started going to summer camp, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And this is overnight sleep camp. And so the first year I was positive they were going to call me and tell me to pick him up after a weekend. So we did everything we possibly could in 48 hours. And they called to check in, but he now goes for a month every year. And that child is transformed when he comes home. You can just see the growth. And the beauty of that is not just he is integrated into an inclusive setting, but that his parents are not there with them. So I would say start early with exposure and trying new things, um, and try to find things where you don't necessarily have to be integrated into it.
Okay, Melissa, I'm assuming that you're signing for me to speak.
N- I
I was trying to be a gentleman and let the ladies go first, but
I was saying Jen was muted. She was talking.
oh,
Oh, go
okay.
ahead.
Oh, sorry. My internet's probably going a little haywire. My son has a large bandwidth to play his video games. So sometimes that's not as advantageous to me, unfortunately. William, do you have a piece of advice that you that you give to parents often?
Yes. As a parent, you know your child better than we do as the workforce professionals. If you know your child has a unique set of skills or abilities, it is your responsibility to one be when you meet with your counselor, bring that forward so we can actually address it, so we can build upon that. We cannot act on something that we do not know. Um, so even if there is, um, let's say, no particular set of skills, we can actually, put together a program or connect them to a training program to where they can acquire the skills. But at the end of the day, we can only do that with the cooperation of the parent, as well as the student. We need to know, if your son or your daughter is well versed in, let's say, with Microsoft products, bring that forward so we can build upon that, so we can put that into their repertoire or their resume, so we can market that to the employer. Because at the end of the day, when you look at, this animal or this species or this thing called a resume, it's just like your Black Friday sales paper. It's a first contact most employers will have to get a picture of who you are as a working professional. Now, when it comes to building the resumes and putting it together, let us deal with that. But we need something to work with. We need a piece of clay that we can mold. But if that clay is not there, then we have to start from scratch. We got to add the water, get the powder, get the mixture, let it cure for a couple of days, and that's the key piece.
Now my turn?
Yes.
Okay. One thing I would offer you is to introduce them to as many opportunities in the community as possible. Start early, asking questions of, do you think you want to work here? Do you like it here? Why? This one thing could help them to evaluate and to also improve on their appreciation of the person who's delivering the service. Customer service is hard right now, but when we start appreciating what we offer as educators, employers, and just friends and family, teaching that appreciation could take us a long way. One other thing, this one's going to hurt from the parent's heart. So just take it from my parents' heart, okay? Have them earn things. Don't just give it to them. They need to know what hard work or not so easy work feels like. And hearing that no might be painful for a minute. But if you say yes, a yes will hurt for a lifetime, but a no will only hurt for a minute. But so much growth can come through that. And right now, I would like to show you a slide. Is it okay? Are you ready?
We're ready.
Excellent. Come on, Maritza. First one, please. Thank you. Could you back up? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, we're going to play, just role play. Keep going, please. 3 more clicks, 4 more clicks backwards. Ooh, not working, huh? Okay, let's go to the first one. Stay there. Stay there. Imagine that this is an image that is painted on the floor, and you are sitting in the green on a chair with a friend or an employer. Tell me what you see. You can unmute or put it into the chat. Tell me what you see. Yes, you see an M. Thank you. Now we are moving to the left. There's someone who's a wheelchair user and there's someone seated. Tell me, what do you see? An E. Thank you. Now we're going to go to the top and we're looking down at this image that's painted on the floor. Tell me, what do you see? A W. Last one. You are in the chair. Two people are standing. You're looking at this image painted on the floor. What do you see? A B. Someone says a B. Do I have any other guesses? No voices in the room? Okay. A 3. A 3. Yes, you do. Now, who's right? Who's right?
Matter of perspective.
A matter of perspective. They're all right. So learn to listen. Learn to listen to your child in every perspective thing they might have. Learn to listen to the educators, the employers, their friends. Learn to listen. That is the best thing that we can give to our children, to our community, and to each other.
That's a really eye-opening exercise. I think for a lot of people, not even just for the young adults who are going into the workforce, but I think everyone can think back on a way that a situation may have been viewed, or even an interview situation where you think things have gone really well, and maybe one of the questions that you answered wasn't what was expected. So it's great to always remind ourselves that it's always a matter of perspective.
Thank you.
As we're waiting for questions for our experts, I did receive a question offline for William. Can an employer be required to relocate or to reallocate an essential job function to another employee as a reasonable accommodation?
No, an employer is not required to reallocate the essential functions of the job. The ADA clearly states in order for you to be protected, you must meet the essential functions of the job. However, the employer can choose, if they so choose, they can, eliminate some marginal functions. But at the end of the day, the accommodations is put into place to allow the individual to carry out a particular task. But it's based on what goes back to the essential functions, the requirement. A perfect example of that is you may have two individuals applying for a job where it is essential for the typing speed to be 75 words per minute. The person with the disability may be able to type 55 words per minute with an accommodation. However, if the employer, the essential function is the data entry must be done at a certain rate, then there's no way they can compensate for that. And therefore, the employer has a right to state, okay, well, the essential function, I need 75 words per minute. So the answer is no, they're not required, but sometimes they do it in good faith.
Jen, you're muted.
Sorry, my husband also decided to mow the lawn at the same time. I love this. We did get another question. Questions are starting to come in. We have a question from Janie. Where might the young adults seek opportunities to volunteer to get experience?
I may be able to add some of that. Go to your thrift store, the dog pound. You can go to your local church, community centers, daycare centers. Where do you go? Where are there people? There are volunteer opportunities everywhere. It's the development of the relationship that is going to bring that opportunity.
I think there was another question in the chat that was similar to that about nonverbal. I mean, I would start with, what are people interested in? Where are your interests, right? And then that probably leads you to where Melissa was saying, like, you know, this is a tangential example, but we use food as a tool for training in our hospitality class. We work at our retail stores, making coffees, customer service. We've had students come in and say, I want to train with you, but I'm really interested in animals. So they trained with us, and then they went to work at a doggy daycare. It's the same thing. Start with where the interests are, and then go from there. On the nonverbal piece, it's the same thing. Where are the interests? And then you might find your space. And I only speak to that because when you get to sunflower, we're very niche. You know, you want to work in some sort of food or hospitality, but there's so many jobs out there. You know, as Melissa was saying, like, just try different things, right? But maybe start with interests. And if you don't know, try something, and that will tell you if you want to go down that path or not.
We had another question for Melissa. Can you describe the communication chart and how a parent might be able to create one?
The communication chart is something that the learning community has developed to support their person-centered thinking training. I will be happy to come back and show you how to use one, and we can all create one ourselves. But it is used to show what is seen. And Jen, guess what? Somebody's at my door, okay? So challenges are everywhere.
Never fails.
Yeah. The one thing in the communication chart is this: we see behavior before we even see anything else. So what are you doing? What are you seeing first that is causing that tension or that change in that facial expression? You see that first, and then we want to find out, what's that environment? Does this happen everywhere, or is it just when Melissa walks into the room? Because I could be that one target that is bringing more anxiety to someone based upon an experience that I've had with them. Then you can ask them, what does this mean? But you ask the person, what does this mean? I just cannot imagine, well, when Melissa walks into the room and the dishes are not done, what is going to happen? Ask them, what does that mean? Then that last column that we could create is this: what is it that you want me to do when you see me doing this? And one of mine, I'll just give you one of mine. If I am quiet, that could happen anyway. It might mean that I have a project going on and I am involved. What do I want you to do? I want you to allow me to get my project done, and then we can chat after. Once all of those are communicated, then you can help that person by not coming to my office door when I am quiet. So I'd be happy to come back and recreate that with everybody.
That would be great and really helpful, I think, for a lot of families. We have a few minutes left. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and type those in. But we did receive another offline question for William. Does an employer have to give preference to a job applicant who is disabled?
That answer is no, and it kind of piggyback off the answer that I gave in reference to the person with a disability who types 55 words per minute versus the requirement being 75 words per minute. Still, it is at their discretion if they want to open their doors. But if the essential function of the job requires 75 words per minute, and the individual who has a disability does not meet that, then the employer does not necessarily have to hire that person. That's why my job exists, is to, soften them up, to get them to reconsider. But the straight to the point answer is no. It is based off the essential functions of the job. If there is a requirement for 75 words per minute, the employer can stick with that. But like I stated, most employers, they're kind of flexible. They'll find a little gray area. And I'm seeing that the trend shift more and more to where the job requirements are not so stringent as they used to be.
That's great information, and I think a lot of parents have questions similar to that, because there's so much information and at the same time not enough information out there, if that makes sense. Because a lot of folks don't know where to start, and it can be an overwhelming process, especially in the beginning of your young adult's journey to employment. Not knowing where to begin or how to get those resources. So if we could take the opportunity, and if each of our experts can just give their contact information and websites, so that way, if anyone has individualized questions, that they at least have a starting point and know that there is support available in the community. Melissa, do you want to begin?
Yes, I'm getting ready to drop my email into the chat for you. And when you said that, I'm like, well, which one am I going to give you? But I'm going to give you my business email, and you can reach out to me, and I'll be happy to address any of the questions and any of the hats that I wear. Okay?
Thank you.
I look forward to supporting all of you. Thank you again for inviting me to this wonderful table of conversations to advance our beautiful beings that we've been imparted to take care of.
Thank you. And I saw that Jody has also given her contact information in the chat. So if anyone has any questions about Sunflower or the hospitality or the pastry arts programs for teens and for young adults, just go ahead and go to sunflowerbakery.org, or you can email Jody.
Yeah, and also, Jen, we do have open houses if people are interested. So that will be posted on our website as well. And we can give that information to Jen too, and she can pass it through. I don't know if you guys have a listserv or what you have, but keep people up to date on what's going on.
Great.
Okay. I can assist the parents on the employment side. My entire team, and I say that I'm my team because I'm a member, I'm not the leader. I'm the county representative for Prince George's County. We have a representative for different counties, but we are well trained in all 5 titles of the ADA. We're not lawyers, we cannot give legal advice, but we can tell you what the actual ADA law interprets and how it applies to anyone's particular situation. The DOORS website is dors.maryland.gov. My email address is williamcommonspelling.BROWNLEE. That's Brown as in color, Lee as in Bruce Lee, but it's one word, at maryland.gov. My phone number is 301-967-7257. And my work cell phone number is 443-240-3144. I'm mobile right now, so I cannot put it into the text, but that's my contact information.
Okay, so can someone send us his contact information once We get the recording?
Yes.
I will go ahead in a second, and before everyone leaves, I will put it into the chat.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Let's see. We did thank you, Pamela, for your comment. She said this discussion's been just dynamic. This is the information I wish I would have learned about an IEP table when my son was in 6th grade. However, it's still extremely helpful right now. Thank you for sharing. Learning is lifelong. That is true, and we sincerely hope that all of the families on tonight's presentation got a lot of information. Know that there is a lot of support in the community, and where you can begin to ask your questions regarding pre-employment or employment opportunities. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank all 3 of our expert panelists tonight. So thank you, Jody, Melissa, William, for sharing your expertise with us. And we really appreciate everything that you're doing to help our young adults in the community. And on behalf of parents, I just wanted to thank you for your dedication to our young adults and making sure that they succeed and thrive in any opportunity that they truly love and will continue as a career. So thank you for joining us tonight. We definitely appreciate it. Jeannie, did you have any additional information for panelists?
I would just echo the thanks to everyone. This has been an extraordinary session, and as Pam said, you know, learning is lifelong, right? I'm one of the things I've done for a number of years is be an HR professional, and I had not thought about having my granddaughter do a resume on some things that she's done. So I mean, it just these tips are so important to us and mean so much to us. So that's one of the things we're going to be working on this weekend. So thank you to all of you. It's been an extraordinary session, and we are just grateful. So just want to thank everybody again. And then I'd just like to say that I wish everybody a safe and healthy summer. We're going to have a great lineup for next school term as well, and we'll be reaching out to parents to get thoughts and ideas about topics that you're interested in. So please respond to that, and also respond to the survey that Chanel mentioned earlier. So everybody have a safe and wonderful summer. Thank you so much. I'm gonna give you